Hey guys and girls, I'm back baby. It's been a hot minute, but these last couple of months I've been super busy, really busy. I've had a birthday, I've been ill, I've had tons of work going on. I've just not had a chance to sort of sit down and record any updates in the last sort of 8-9 weeks or whatever it's been. So it's been 6.5 months of total guitar learning, and I've clocked up, got it all written down, 185 hours approximately of total practice time. That's guitar in hand practicing. Now these past 8 weeks, I have to say, I've not really progressed much in terms of the modules. I'm on the Justin Guitar beginner course. I've now started grade 2, but in the last 8 weeks, 9 weeks, I've pretty much, well, I have just gone over and over and over module 8, which is the very first module in grade 2. But I'm not too disheartened with the lack of progress through the modules, because you learn so much in this module, and there's a lot of chords in this module that you learn, and I love a lot of them. So I've had no problem just spending a lot of time on this module and drumming it into me and getting these foundation, getting these basics down and getting a foundation really solid as I can get it as I move forward. Right, I'm not going to chatter away too long because this video will be just too long. Like I said, this is a beast of a module, so I've got a lot of things to go through, so I'm just going to dive right in here. So after my little, finger exercises, my stretches, my warm-up, I'll go through the spider exercise, etc, etc. The first thing I'll do that's new is learning notes in open position, so I'll just spend a couple of minutes going through that at the beginning. And that's really it, just E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. So I'll do it slower and I'll just, so I'll do that a few times. Then the E minor pentatonic scale. I will do this usually, not as often as I should, but with a metronome. I'm sort of up around 160-ish beats per minute. I don't know what would be classed as good really, but I'm not going to bore you with running through this with a metronome, but I will sort of do that in my practice routine, not every single time, but when I can, which is most of the time. So I'll just spend maybe 3-4 minutes running through that. Then I've got into, I'll spend with the 1 minute changes with big G to D. Now the big G is one of the chords that you learn in this module along with another 8, but I'll get into that in a few moments. So the big G, I don't know what you would call it. I think I've heard a few different things, but in this course it's referred to as the big G. So at the beginning, the first sort of 2 weeks or so, I was doing the 1 minute changes between the big G and D, back and forth. But now, since about 3-4 weeks of doing that, after the 2 to 3 weeks of doing that onwards, so for the last 5 weeks I would say, instead of doing the 1 minute changes, I'm spending sort of 2 minutes more. I'll just show you, just back and forth with a bit of strumming instead. A bit more melodic with it. I'm trying to be a lot lighter, because you probably remember if you've watched back and seen my older videos, I've got quite a lot of booming in my arm with the strumming. And I'm really trying to loosen that up, and just So I'll do that with a big G to the D, Then the rock G, which is another chord that we've learned. So again, it's just another variation of playing a G chord, but I like this too. You learn, you probably remember, you learn this simplified G, but I prefer this now, and I'm playing it so often that this is sort of like when I'm switching from any other chords, this is automatically the G that I'm playing without thinking about it. So I'm happy with that, because that's the first G. You learn that version. This version with the third and fourth finger now is my go-to G. So I'm switching between C, sorry, not C to D, C to G. Now again, for the first 2 to 3 weeks I was doing just 1-minute changes, and then from 3-4 weeks onwards in this module I've been doing the thing that I was doing with the big G to the D. So just that over and over and over and over and over again for about 2 minutes or so. And then I do, right, we'll tuck into the 9 new chords now. So obviously we've got the big G, the rock G. We've also got, and I will mention with this big G, I'm glad, right, because in this module you learn these stuck 3 and 4 chords. I think they refer to that because you're using the third and the fourth finger here on this 3rd fret on these 2 strings down here. Not too long ago I started practicing the There She Goes. And you're using the 3rd and 4th finger a lot on these super strings that those fingers hate to begin with. But I'm glad I did that. I'm super glad I did that, because a lot of people, I should imagine, when they get to this, they're getting a lot of problems with those two, and you've got to build the calluses again. Learning that There She Goes riff, because I was using those every single day, coming into these stuck 3 and 4 chords, it was no problem. It was straight in. There was no pain whatsoever because I'd already built up the calluses. But that riff is not included in this course or anything. You don't really use those fingers too much. It's sort of like suggested that perhaps you might want to consider using it, but personally I would say once you're a couple of months in, sort of 3-month mark, something like that, get using those fingers, because you get to this module, even if it's just a riff, you get to this module and boom, you're using those constantly. We've got the big G, the rock G, C add 9, that's another chord we learn. We learn E minor 7, we learn A7 sus 4. Now this I'm not keen on, I'm not keen on that chord, but it's there. And also the easier version, which I think is when you just lift that one, I think. And we learn D sus 4, again another one I'm not really keen on. We learn that one. I usually just prefer the normal D, but I get that there's, you know, I get that there's a difference in the sound, and they can work together, whatever, you can get it going with songs and stuff. And we also learn, now these I haven't really practiced at all, D add 11 with an F sharp, which I can't, I think is that maybe? I've not practiced that, so that's something I'll have to dip into at some point. And F6-9. I've not practiced this one, but I've written down a note that says it's 1 down from C add 9. So if that's C add 9, it'll be 1 down, and then don't play those two, so you could mute that one there. So it's just those. Alright, so that's another one that you're supposed to learn, but I've really not done too much with those two last ones. Alright, so those are the chords, so then I'll spend maybe 5 minutes or so just switching between those chords. So I'll spend 5-6 minutes, whatever, doing that for a while. Then we've got a riff, a new riff. Now this riff incorporates strumming with a bit of note picking. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Let's just have a crack at this. Let's have a crack at this. Okay, so I find that difficult. It took me a while to get that up to that level because it's still not great, but it's, yeah, it's okay, it's good. You can remember, 6.5 months in and finally doing a bit of picking and strumming together. I struggle with, again, the strumming. It's just going to be repetition, doing it over and over and over, but it's slowly getting better. We're getting somewhere. I'm making tunes, brilliant stuff. So we keep going with that, and so I'm not doing that once, I'm doing that several times. And also I'll interchange these things, so if I get bored of doing something in particular, I'll maybe go back to just strumming between the new chords that I've learned, or the older chords, the older open chords. We'll also do a lot of that. I'll make sure I'm going over things from the past, like the older riffs. I'll just, after 2 or 3 weeks of running through this practice session, you know the exact things you're practicing, so I'm just muddling it up and just making sure that I'm spending a full hour doing a blend and a mix of everything. So once I've finished that riff a good few times, I'll then start practicing some all down 8th note strumming. Now, I mean, this I struggle with, like strumming is something I have to continue working at. I think it is getting better, but 8th note strumming. Now I'll usually do this with the older open chords, which revert back to all those first chords that we learn at the beginning in grade 1, and I'll just practice a bit of that for a while, maybe 4 or 5 minutes of it. You get the idea. Do that for a while, and that is pretty much the bulk of it. I must admit, I've not really spent too much time practicing songs. I spent the majority of the time just going through that routine over and over and over again. So I probably need to spend more time specifically on songs to start using these chords and make sure I continue working on my timing and my rhythm and my strumming and blending it all together to make the music that we want to make. I have started singing with a bit of playing, pretty much with the new chords, because I find these chords, I love them, they're so nice, and they make you sound a lot better than you are. So if you're playing to somebody who's not a guitar player and they hear you just you sound like you know what you're doing pretty well, so they make you sound a lot better than you are, and that's why I like them. So I've started singing a song, but I'm not gonna stick it in this. I'll maybe do it in a few days time and stick it up as another video. It'll be my first recorded song singing and playing at the same time after less than 200 hours of learning. So it can be done if you put the hours in, put the time in, put the practice in, you can get there. And that's pretty much all she wrote. Now it's time for me to progress on to Module 9 of Grade 2 of the Justin Guitar Beginner course. Of course, I think first up is pretty much that F chord. So we'll see how we get on with that. What I'm going to be doing is not just boom, forgetting all this and going straight into the next module, because these are way more difficult now. You're learning, some tough things in this module, in this grade, compared to what you've learned in grade 1. So I tend to just go through the lessons one at a time and slowly incorporate them. So I'll continue this practice session. I think the very first lesson of the next module is basically the F chord. So I'll just be going through that and trying to get the chord down pat. And I'll just spend a bit of time practicing the F chord, and then whatever the second lesson is, I'll then incorporate that till it gets to the point where I'm ready to leave behind things from this module and just totally focus on the next module. And then I'll get to the point then after probably another 3 months, maybe that time, where I'm just playing through module 9 and incorporating bits of 8 to fill gaps where I'm bored and this, that, the other. Then when I'm totally comfortable, which is where I'm at now with this, I feel comfortable, I feel ready to move on and incorporate new things in. And I think that's the time to move on to the next module, when you feel, not perfect. I'm saying I'm perfect at this, but I feel comfortable. I feel ready to learn something else. I'm not bored of doing this. I've loved this module. It's a fantastic module, but I'm ready now to start learning that F chord. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, follow along on this guitar learning journey. Reach out with any questions you may have if you're learning yourself. I'm an experienced beginner now, over 6 months in. It's amazing. Learn guitar, it's worth it. Catch you next time.